Hello goat lovers, Crystal here with Blue Cactus Dairy Goats, and it is that time of year again that we're about to have babies here creeping up on us. So what we need to do is make sure we have all of our birthing supplies and we're ready for when kidding season begins. So for starters, the first thing you want to always make sure you have in your birthing bucket is going to be a lamb puller. Now, we will sterilize it before we actually start kidding and everything, and I just keep it in a clean Ziploc. But this here is literally kind of a lifesaver. If you have to assist in a labor and you can't seem to get the kid positioned or grab feet or anything like that, it's a very tight squeeze, this lamb puller is going to be very helpful. So pretty much what you would do is just get this, and you're gonna go inside, try to wrap it around a head or around some feet or something, and you'll pull it so that it tightens, and then it gives you something to pull, some utensil to be able to pull the kid out if they are stuck or tangled. So everybody should have one of these. We've only ever had to use it a time or two, but as you're always learning, the first time we had to use it, wished we had one, but bought one after that because my husband actually had to make one out of some twine, and just better to have the real thing. So that's an important thing to have in your bucket. Another thing we always have on hand is going to be Jumpstart. Now this is just full of live microbial bacteria, and it also has a lot of minerals. So if you have a weak kid or anything like that, the kid looks off, there was a hard labor, you know, the kid might be weaker and could just use a Jumpstart. So literally that's why it's called. Something we have always because it's amazing. It just works really well, and within an hour or two you'll see improvement in that kid. So always have Jumpstart. Probios is also something we always have on hand that goes in our birthing bucket. It's again just live viable microorganisms that help the goats rumen. So in any stressful times, which obviously labor is pretty stressful, so any stressful moments for the goats, this just helps their rumen. It just keeps it going and really is beneficial for the goat. So probios is always something we have in our bucket. Selenium and vitamin E is always something we have as well. Now this is something we give to our herd, our whole herd, every month. This is a dose for 30 days, and that's what we do. So throughout them being in labor, the kids are getting it through their mama, and then of course through the colostrum when they're born. But every once in a while you'll have a kid that's a little off, and you can tell if they're lacking in selenium. They're not standing strong on their hooves, their front legs or something might be a little bowed out, and if they're not on their hooves, it's more like they're on their pasterns, so just real weak legs. So giving a shot of this or a dose of this to a selenium deficient kid, couple hours you'll see their feet are stronger, and they bounce back really quick. So only come across it a couple times where we've seen a weak kid as far as this, you know, lacking in selenium, but it's good to have, so always have that in your bucket. We also like to keep on hand what's called Revitalize. So we have packs of this. If, you know, a goat is a little bit down after labor or had a really tough labor, multiple kids, you know, anything like that, this is literally just Gatorade for livestock. So it just gives them electrolytes, bounces them back, good to have. Some people will use molasses, put molasses in the water, and it just gives them that sugar boost. So good thing to have on hand as well. We always have gloves on hand, obviously, you know, keeping everything clean. Just put them in a little baggie, a good amount of them, and store them in the bucket. Also on hand, OB Lube. If you have to assist, you need to go in. Of course, you don't want to go in dry or anything. It's definitely not something fun for the doe if this ever happens. Not common, but if you have to go in, having a lube on hand is going to make it a lot easier on your doe. Also have hand sanitizer around. Lots of germs, you want to make sure you're clean, you're not full of any bacteria or anything like that, especially if you need to assist. So always something good to have in the bucket. A hook that you will hopefully not need, but if you do need it, want to make sure that is real close and right by, especially if you don't have somebody there assisting you. If it's just you and your goat, if you have to assist in any way, shape, or form, again, it's a very uncomfortable thing for the doe. It's painful, rather. They're not going to stand there and say, okay, thanks for helping out. They're going to be running from you. So if you had a hook, something to tie them to the fence, something like that, you know, obviously that's going to be very, very helpful. So we keep a hook. And the last thing that we put in our bucket that we take out with us every time a goat is in labor are towels, just old towels. What we do is when the baby comes out, I clean the mouth, I clean the nose, make sure it's breathing, and then get the majority off, hand the baby over to the mom. So we always have towels on hand. This is everything we're going to be keeping in the bucket, again, that we take out with us. Once a goat's in labor, this is out there with me, so that we're ready and prepared if any of these things are needed during labor. These things are not necessarily something I keep in the bucket, but very important to also have on hand, because if you need them shortly after labor, you know, it's important that they're close by. You have them ready, available. You don't have to wait to order them. So for starters, we cut all of the umbilical cords to about 1 inch long on all the baby goats. Now the moms typically, in most cases, the moms, when they're cleaning them up, they'll get that umbilical cord pretty nipped down and pretty short. But sometimes they'll leave them pretty long. So have a sharp pair of scissors, that, you know, sterile scissors, so that you can cut the umbilical cord to about 1 inch, as well as iodine. So what iodine's going to do is dry that area up, the navel up, very quickly, as well as kill any bacteria, because that is considered an open wound. It is an open wound. When that baby lays down in the dirt, it's very susceptible to getting bacteria into their bloodstream. So it can cause joint ill, which is horrible to see on an animal, especially a little baby. It just swells their joints, and it can even end up killing them. So had to deal with that once, and ever since we cut the umbilical cords and put iodine on them, drying up that area, making sure it's clean of any possible bacteria. Another thing to make sure you have on hand is an antibiotic. I like Bio-Mycin 200. It doesn't sting the animal and it works really good. But if you have to assist in any way, shape, or form, then that goat, obviously you've went inside, and that goat could be susceptible to an illness or an infection just due to germs and bacteria. So I always kind of jump ahead of it, and so if we have to assist and go in, our goats are going to get the antibiotic. And this isn't something we use all the time. As a matter of fact, we hardly ever use it, hardly ever have to use it. So you don't want to, you know, get your goat immune to it if they need it. But in this particular instance, I feel it's important just to, again, get ahead of it in case there is any infection that would be created or caused and cause an illness. They're going to get that. Vitamin B complex. Something you should always have, period, but also something close by if there's a hard birth, if there's anything stressful like labor, and your goat just looks off, they're going to get a shot of vitamin B from me. This is kind of my go-to. A down, weak-looking goat should get some vitamin B. If they're off their feed, this, you know, helps support appetite as well. So vitamin B, have that on hand. This is Sulfa Med. Now this would be for mainly the babies, but to treat coccidia. So if a baby is weak, babies are extremely susceptible to coccidia. So this, we used to use Corid actually, and then a couple years back realized it just didn't work anymore for our herd, and come across this Sulfa. Sulfa Med is what it's called. It's the knockoff brand, but we get it at the feed store, and it kicked it right in the butt. Coccidia was gone in just a couple days, and just a huge improvement in the goats. So we keep this on hand. Again, baby goats are susceptible to it in any stressful situation, which, you know, if you have to assist, they might just right off the bat get it. So that's always on hand. So for coccidia, the sulfate is given orally. Make sure you have some nipples. Both types of these nipples, you know, this is the Pritchard nipple that you just screw on top of like an empty soda bottle or something. Some people prefer these. I prefer this nipple, which literally goes on the lamb bar. So it goes on a lamb bar, which we use because we have so many kids, we fill a bucket. It's just a bucket that you fill with milk. It connects to it, the straws go down to the bottom of the bucket, and they drink it out. But either way, this also fits very snugly and nicely on top of a soda bottle. So have nipples on hand, because you never know. What if the mom rejects the baby? What if something happens to the mom and all of a sudden you have to feed the baby? You don't want to be running to the store. That baby needs food like right away. So have nipples on hand. Also, if you've never milked a goat before, or you don't have any goat milk on hand because you're herded, you just got 1 or 2 goats, and you know, you might want to have some milk replacer on hand as well, so that you have the option to make the formula for the baby if they need it. Okay, so obviously if you have to give a shot of the Bio-Mycin or the vitamin B, you're going to need sterile needles and syringes, so make sure you have those on hand as well. And lastly, we love having this portable baby crib around. You never know when you're going to have to bring a kid in, whether it's due to weather, whether, you know, the mom is rejecting that baby and you don't want to leave it alone, whatever the case may be. This has been very, very helpful for us. It's not something you have to go out to Walmart and buy brand new. You know, you can find them on Craigslist for 20, 30 bucks most of the time. So having this on hand has been really, really helpful for us many, many times. And also something we do, you can find them at Walmart pretty cheap as well. It's just a mat, you know, like when your kids won't quit peeing in the bed because they're young. We put that mat down in here too, so that we have that, and when they're peeing, it doesn't go everywhere. Alright guys, so that is what we have on hand, getting ready and prepared for kidding season, which again is a very, very exciting time. It's also very nerve-wracking. You get really nervous. You want to make sure everything is going to go okay, and in most cases it does. And in most cases you're not going to need a lot of these items, but if you do need them, you want to make sure that they're on hand. Make sure you also have a good vet that you have, you know, in your contacts on your phone. Even reach out to them, let them know you're about to be kidding, especially if you have a lot of goats. You know, a vet that knows something about goats. Make sure that you're subscribed to a good YouTuber if you have any questions or need to relay back to any videos, anything like that. And as far as all of these items are concerned, we will have them linked in the description below, so you guys can click on those links and purchase them through Amazon in most cases. And that's it, folks. So happy kidding. Everything should go well, but again, make sure you're prepared just in case.